something we all need. Gotta have it now if you wanna succeed. Striving, surviving, that's no doubt. Sticking together, we gon' find a way out. To all you young people, give it your all. To all you young people, give it your all. To all you young people, give it your all. To all you young people, give it your all.
Good afternoon, the back community. Thank you as always for staying involved. Thank you for staying engaged. Today, I'm going to have the opportunity to get educated on a whole new career that I have yet to benefit from. So I am looking forward to my free counseling session. But just joking, just joking. But today's guest that we have on the back community is Siara Ramos, and I look forward to diving into your story today. I know you and I have been talking up this interview for quite some time, and I couldn't wait to get you on the platform because I think everyone needs to know about your role as a career strategist, and we wanted to do it at the top of the year. Why do we want to do it at the top of the year? Because obviously, new year, new goals. Everybody's always got
Yes.
something that they want to reach. And what better person to connect yourself with at the top of the year than a career strategist to help you to line out and create a blueprint or roadmap to success. So, without further ado, today's guest on the Back Community Podcast is Siara Ramos. And thank you for being on the Back Community.
Thank you so much for having me. I was so excited. I appreciate all the work you do in the community. I'm also a fan. I am Siara Ramos, career strategist, the co-founder and CEO of ANS Life and Career Coaching, where I career coach high achieving women to negotiate their salary, to find employment that aligns with their values, boost confidence. And then I do a lot of volunteer work with the youth, getting them ready for career readiness. The sooner we get them prepared, knowing they're our future leaders of the capital region, working with the youth is something that I'm so passionate about. I can always do that work for free.
And I see you
I
all
wanted
over the
to be the
place.
mentor that I didn't have growing up.
And I see it. I see it. I see you doing it. I see you all over the place. I'm just like, man, where is she not at? So, I think the ultimate motivation, like you said, is you're choosing to show up in places and services where you wish that you had someone to do it for you. And I think that's the ultimate motivation that drives your passion. So, thank you for all that you do.
I grew up in New York City, and I didn't grow up with many like nonprofit programs. And when I moved to the capital region and saw all these amazing programs for the youth, like it excited me. And I was lucky enough. I started my career in corporate America quite young. I started at 19 working for Sony. They had a technology museum at that time. And I used to do tours for the museum and like teach classes how to build like soda can robots and solar power cars. So I've been a woman in tech in a long time. And then after I finished my first college degree, I moved upstate to continue my education and find affordability. And a new life in Capital Region has been good to me the last decade. So I'm grateful. And then now I call this place home.
There you go. And this place should be home. And like I said, thank you for choosing to be the change in the world that you wanted to see for yourself. But yeah,
We got to try our best to leave it better than we left it, right? I feel like I've been lucky enough to meet amazing people in my life. And I heard, a lot of mentors tell me, like, pay it forward, pay it forward. And I was lucky enough to have many people who spoke of my name in rooms of opportunity when I wasn't present. So I'm trying to live by that example to do all the work I can to showcase, you can change the world, you can make a difference. And one person does a lot of work, but there's power in unity. So I'm learning how to collaborate more with different leaders, different organizations, different groups, so we can make even more magic happen. The power is in numbers.
and yes and no. I have to challenge you on that. Sometimes we make things a little bit slower the more people that we have, trying to get everybody on one accord. I'm an alpha.
Right.
So, sometimes going to our chapter meetings, it's just like, come on, man, we all in here, we're
That's why
successful,
you
we're
need the
all.
PM. That's why you need the project manager to bring everyone along and organize the chaos. That's also I do separately in my life. I do a lot of project contract work. I realize I like solving complex problems and I like organizing chaos. So I feel like the project management career always gives me that. And then I get to bring my career strategy as well to solve those problems and be able to help high achieving women in their careers, which is wonderful. So I get to use those transferable skills back and forth to bring value in different pockets.
Okay, okay. And I have to ask, how much of an impact do you feel that you have as a career strategist on the direction and the trajectory of different people's lives?
Well, I think it's a significant impact because I'm just not just building their confidence, I'm helping them identify their skills of what they're good at, giving them intel of corporate America strategy, in the skin of a woman of color with over 16 years of experience. I have helped probably over 100 women in the last 3 years be able not just to land employment, but make much more money than they have ever made, meaning they have more money to now provide for their families and now more money to bring into the economy and provide in their communities. So people say finances aren't important. They're really, really important because the more you have to give to transform. So not just your physical labor, your time and treasure, but also finances to push initiatives that align with your values. And that will look unique, but we all are passionate about certain things that we want to contribute our skills and our gifts and our finances to move things forward. One client, we worked together for maybe about almost 30 days, and she was able to make $50,000 more than her six-figure last opportunity. And
And
to
how
me,
many
that
how
was
many
a win.
days?
30.
Nice.
30, 30. Each woman is unique. So some women need more than others. It depends. Some women would need like a resume upgrade, some strategy, some branding. Some women already have that done. They kind of needed the strategy to be able to debate an offer letter and articulate their value to employers. And then there's some women that need more confidence to recognize all the amazing things they have already done. And how do they showcase that in a mock interview with a group discussion with potential employers effectively? So I do career assessments that I create for them to take before we start working together. So I already get all the information I need before we meet so we can just dive into the call on strategy action items I have already created from the answers that come from the assessment. Like, what are they passionate about? How much money they want to make? How much experience? Do they want to start a business? Do they want to change careers? So there's a whole list of information that I'm extracting. So now I have strategy and action items to propose for the client, and then if they're in agreement, we can continue to move forward and be aggressive. They have access to me through text message, emails. Well, it's common for my clients to leave me voice notes or that I'm leaving them voice notes if it's quotes, words of inspiration. I'm giving them strategy of how they're going to prepare an interview as they're driving in their car. So I'm basically their cheerleader, their support system, their accountability partner, their coach in the ring. And then I'm like building strategy behind the scenes of what I feel may be missing.
Okay, okay. I gotta ask just on one point. So, voice notes, right? It took me a very, very long time to understand the concept, and I don't say this. What is it? I say this with a great deal of humility. It took me a very, very long time to understand the concept of those voice notes. I got a friend of mine who works for a university down in Charlotte, and I promise you, me and him, I would start off in a text, and then he would always give me a voice note. And I would be like, send me a text back. I sent you a text. But then I finally got used to it and realized how easy it is. And sometimes you don't have yeah, the availability to really write. But when you said voice notes and being able to help prep your clients right before they're going into one of these meetings is very important. But
Yeah, I'm very agile. However, each one is unique of how they like to communicate with me. So I usually adopt what they seem most fitting. And then the voice notes, I don't want it to get lost in translation. Sometimes I want them to hear my tone and energy to build excitement, especially to bring their anxiety down if they're going in for their last interview with the group on their way. So it's just a tactic I use to like keep their energy levels high, to keep them confident, understanding they can do this. And sometimes if you're in a negative mindset, doesn't matter what I text, you may not
Mm.
translate it in the way that I would like to. Plus, I'm crazy like
Yeah.
that.
I was just about to ask. I was just like, it must be something within you. All of us are wired differently, but it must be something within you that drives you towards being a PM, that drives you towards being a career strategist. When did you know that this was the spark for you? When did you know that like this thing made me happy?
I give the credit to Excelsior College. They are now Excelsior University. I've worked for many different companies in the capital region, but the love and the commitment that Excelsior University gave me when it came to fostering my education and, paying for paid trainings while on work time, for me to be able to master my role to mastery, to sharing textbook with me when I was a student on top of being, paying for my education as I studied. So I was in an office as an operations assistant. And I was an assistant to leadership, also assisting faculty, subject matter experts who create curriculums and support the students and student advisors. So being able to serve all those different groups at one time was a gift I had to master and realize this is what project managers do. It was a real career where it was lucrative. There weren't many women in that domain. So I saw that as a great opportunity. And working in that office higher education environment in my early career made me realize I love to serve others. I love to be helpful. I like to solve complex problems. And like I can do this for a living. Because at that time, I was a business major and started out as a psychology major and was like, I like this, but I wanted something more and different because I wasn't sure if I wanted to study to PhD level to be able to practice. That was a long time to study, but how was I going to afford it? Right.
Mhm.
So I didn't come from very much. I grew up in the South Bronx, 174th Street. So I told myself I want to figure out a career where I didn't have to go to school as long, but made good enough money for me to meet the needs of my living. And having that experience with the college and the opportunities they gave me, found the love of organizing the chaos because there's a lot of moving pieces
Mhm.
to travel, to meetings, to facilitating presentations. And they allowed me to be a part of many committees as well for my professional development. So then it gave me awareness of all different type of careers because out of all the degree programs, the institutions were promoting the students as well, that I was researching different careers because all that information was at my disposal.
Okay, okay. And I have friends of mine who also use that same program and they love it. Working with me at the federal government, they were also taking classes through Excelsior. Um,
Yeah. And
and
they've always been online. So they figured out how to do it successfully. So like when COVID happened, it was nothing for them.
so we've been doing this.
Yes. Yes.
And another thing before I'm going off tangent, but shout out to the Bronx.
Yes.
Spent a lot of time down. Well, they don't call it Hunts Point anymore. It's now called the Piano District. Yeah,
Interesting.
interesting. Yeah, so it used to be known for one thing. So now they're finally
Yeah.
gentrifying and revitalizing the Bronx.
Oh,
But it's
I
now
used to call
called
it Trima because
Tremont.
after the Hunts Point, we called the street Trima, and this is where like a lot of shopping stores
Mm,
were that I used to go get my school clothes and my sneakers at like Dr. J's,
there you go.
Jimmy Jazz,
There you go.
and all that good stuff. And they had a pay less. I used to get my elementary school shoes there and things like that. And they were always vendors selling food, great oils, perfume, beauty supplies. There was a lot of electronic stores for like devices. So yes, it does bring back a lot of growing up memories, getting ready for school and shopping and being closer to like good food and treats.
Love it.
Because
Love it.
there was a lot of cake bakeries on that street too.
There's a lot of other things there in that area as well. So
Right, right. We're gonna leave those out.
my uncle is a retired firefighter, and he used to
Wow.
be stationed in Brooklyn. But he would take me all throughout New York. But Hunts Point was one of his favorite places to go. Now I've
We
been
appreciate his
yeah,
service.
yes. Let me see. I have to ask this thing, especially because you said that in 30 days you were able to help a client pretty much renegotiate and change her salary base, which ultimately would change that person's life. How important is it to renegotiate? How important is it to have negotiation skills?
It's vital, right? Because some people think like I noticed there's a pattern with my female clients. They're always afraid to negotiate. They're afraid that if they ask for too much, the opportunity is going to be ripped away. And that's not true, right? Each salary line has already been budgeted of what is the minimum and max they can give to the offer letter to the client. And I guess understanding how do you articulate your value. And a lot of women sometimes don't even know they're being underpaid, right? Because
Right.
if this is the most money they have ever seen, what you don't know, you don't know. So I always tell my clients, let's do research together. There's a lot of information like pay scale, Glassdoor, New York labor statistics of where you can find the medium salary on the low, medium, and high luxury end by job titles and area. So I'm constantly figuring out how much money they want to make, what industry you're in, how much experience you have, and now I start doing the research on those job titles. Pay Scale, as an example, has information on finances for over 200,000 job titles, right? So I'm constantly searching to make sure that if the salary line that is showcased on this application actually is matching the industry. And if it is, then it gives me confirmation, great. And if it's not, I even teach my clients of how you put that in your negotiation email, right? Because a lot of employers aren't aware if they're over or underpaying. And sometimes we can't make assumptions that they do know, right? Because everyone has their own expertise and we're all limited. We can't know everything and everything. But it's really hard for someone to say no to you when you give them the facts. If I'm
Mm.
giving you the facts of this is what the pay is in the industry, this was the salary line in the application you approved, and these are my years of experience that I have exceeded the minimum requirements in this job description, then how could you tell me no? So usually we wrap it up in a pretty bow. We get all of our data, we add that in our offer letter email to give our counter offer of what we prefer. And as of yet, I have not had a client who said to me, Siara, they didn't agree to my terms. Siara, they decided to take the offer away. It's really sucking them out about giving them the confidence that you can do this. We can ask for it professionally and effectively. And I need you to trust yourself and trust me that we need to do this and we can get it done.
I like it. And you also mentioned that you only work with female clients, and I'm gonna ask for a clarification on as to why.
I know
But I
that.
have to ask. Listen, but I have to say because it's not just females who have that same problem. I will say for a person who doesn't always advocate the best for himself, and I've gotten a lot better over the years. I've been in my job for this year will be 18 years, right? So, and it
Wow.
wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't until I met my wife that I realized I had no negotiating skills, right? And my wife is an attorney by profession, and I just realized, she had been negotiating with me our entire relationship, and here it is. I'm not even realized that,
No, you thought it was compromise.
yeah. It's like no. She's been negotiating with me the entire time. And I took a training at work a couple of years ago. And when I took the training, I came home and I was like, oh man, you've been working me this entire time. And she's just like, it's not my fault you didn't know. So but I think even for men, having the ability and the reassurance to be able to go back to renegotiate. I think sometimes we have somewhat of a scarcity mentality, like I don't want to lose it
Absolutely.
if I'd ask. So all I wanted to say was that I think that the same fear scenarios that happens for the women and your women clients, I'm sure there's a whole nother bracket of men just like me that have those same scared scenarios, and your confidence building as it pertains to you being a career strategist and helping us to to see our value and to understand how to speak up for it. Yeah, I'm sure it's beneficial across the board. But now tell me why?
Have a
Why?
good excuse.
It's
So,
no excuses needed. I did a program where I only work with young men, so I totally understand knowing what
um,
your niche is.
okay, so my target market is high achieving women of color because I feel like they need it more. I'm gonna be honest, I do take male clients, but it's rare. They're special cases. They're usually like the son or a husband of a previous client I already work with, and I know there's no negative intention. I noticed in my experience, I had a lot of men that would bait me wanting the coaching, but they didn't really want the coaching. They just
Mm,
kind of wanted an opportunity to meet me in a public setting. And I feel like there's more than enough women in the world that I feel like I need to help. All the male clients I did take that they all have success. I have never failed. If you check out my Google business page, I have never got lower than 5 stars.
all right.
And I always tell my clients be honest and detail on their testimony. But I notice male clients, I get rid of them faster. Like whatever I say, they don't debate it. They don't want I feel like it's easier for me to coach the men. It's the women that sometimes give me the resistance, but then that's my mission that I feel like those are the ones I want to empower. So I take a few men, not many, but it's always an exception of the rule because I know there's no negative intent whatsoever. I feel safe. And if I feel like I can't help that client, I have really close connections on other amazing coaches that are men and women that I feel like can be served. Because if I can't help you, if I'm not the right fit, then I want you to get what you need. And there's, again, abundance mindset. There's more than enough
Mm,
for us to be successful and wealthy and make a difference. So for my men that I don't want to coach or I feel like I'm not the right fit, I will refer them to maybe Anthony, a career coach for men for Yellow Talks coaching, or Ron, Coach Ron, who's also in the capital region. I would recommend them there. So if I can't help the male client that I don't want to take them on, I have other people that can do great work with them. And then I can always just pass that opportunity if I feel like I'm not the right fit for that woman.
I love it. I love it. And one, own it and stand on business, as we like to say, because
Right.
uh, we know where our passion lies. We know where our heart is, and we know where we feel we can be the most effective. And and running my program for 9 years, I used to get people to say all the time, "Well, Tyrell, when are you going to open up the program for the women?" And I'd be like, "I'm not." And I'd be like, but why? You do so great with the males. And say, well, I'm great with the males because I can truly understand the ins and outs of the things
Absolutely.
that they're going to have to be faced with. And I also say, hey, I don't want to be running up and be like, hey, I'm trying to mentor somebody. And somebody like, oh, Tyrell did. Oh, no, you will not. So, no. So, yeah. So long story short, I totally understand and I totally
Yes.
get it.
But for the youth, the gender doesn't matter. Like I
Okay.
feel like they're younger.
Yep.
I never
Yep.
have to worry about those barriers. So me working with the youth, the gender doesn't matter to me, but usually I prefer to work with women. And
It's
I
just us
have women
old
say,
folks.
and of course, I want to make sure, like, especially when you're working with a younger group, you always want to make sure you protect them. You want them to feel safe, you know what I mean? So I always want to make sure that I'm representing myself well. There's times that luckily all the organizations I work with do very intensive background checks, right? To make sure that, if I did want to drive a student home because it's late and I didn't want a female or a female student, walking home or waiting for the bus, I can now have approval that I can drop them home in one piece, right? Making sure that all of our text messages are in a group chat that
Yep.
is attached to, higher power that's a part of this program to hold accountability to make sure our conversations are always, being documented and safe because being a mentor for someone that's younger, right, you want to make sure that you're professional and respectful and you don't want to cross lines, accidentally. Because they're not your children, even though you want to be very involved for their success.
All right. I am going to, because I know that we've been talking a lot about the youth, I'm going to ask a question that is going to help me to understand you where you are today by looking at where you were previously. So I'm going to ask the question, and the question reads Sierra, thinking about your younger self, right? Thinking about the younger version of you, after all of this experience that you've gathered, after the 16 years of working in the field that you've been in, but looking back at younger Sierra, what is something you wish someone would have told the younger version of you that you know now, but you didn't know when you were coming up? What is something you would tell the younger Sierra?
The power of finances. Like if I knew the financial wisdom I had now and the confidence I have now to also negotiate for my value, I would be a millionaire by now. The importance of investing, the importance of saving money, right? To establish yourself, being aggressive in your earlier 20s when you have more energy, right? And more time to like fail. First of all, failure is just testing. You cannot be successful without failure. And then success is when preparation and opportunity finally meet in unison. But I always encourage the youth to test out and fail as much as possible to find where your gifts are. You are still so young in your career, and a lot of gifts can be discovered through career exploration, through hobbies, and through repetition. Because if you do something long enough, because you're always going to be terrible at something new, but if you keep over time and be consistent with it, you'll be surprised how fast you can bring mastery and find all these valuable gifts that you can monetize within yourself in very different ways. So my best advice would be saving and investing sooner, understanding finances at an earlier age, and failing more, trying more things out to discover what are my infinite possibilities is what I would like to share with the youth. Don't be afraid to try it out. Volunteer, that paid internship, even if it doesn't align what you desired. You never know what can come out of it, who you can meet, what joy that it can bring you, that you realize like, hey, this is a skill that I can add in my toolbox, add on my resume that now adds to my personal brand of the value I can give to the world.
And I'm glad you just hit on paid internships, right? So I'm a advocate for paid or unpaid internships
Yes.
because the skills that you will get, right? You might not get compensated up front, but if you truly take advantage of that opportunity, you're going to be building networks. You're going to be gaining
Hmm.
skills and experience
Absolutely.
that when you decide to step out on your own or when you decide to level up and get that position, you've been able to get it. But I think right now in today's society, a lot of people are, oh, I want to be the boss. I don't want the work. I just want the end result, right?
No, that's not how it
How
works.
do I get there, right? So, but those internships are extremely valuable. Those relationships that you have with people over the years because they become your biggest advocates. So I'm glad you
Absolutely.
said that.
Yeah. And I also learned if you don't know how to follow first, you're not going to be able to successfully lead as great as you can. Like I know people that's like, "Hey, I want to start a business." There's nothing wrong with starting a business. Of course you can. But work for an employer first for a little while, right? Take the competitive advantage of what you can learn from them of how they operate for their success and how you can use those tools, those strategies to bring in your own business. I run my own business now. A lot of technology does all the work for me, the bookkeeping, the scheduling. So I have more time to work my full-time role and be hands-on with the client. But those skills and common sense would not come and be common if I didn't work for employers and help them build their companies, right? So taking that as a competitive advantage of, like you said, leveraging their resources, if it's tuition reimbursement, if it's, more percentage in your 401k, joining their committees, their self-development programs they had, utilizing educations, getting certifications, asking for sponsorship, mentorship, coaching at the job. There's nothing wrong with having more than one mentor. There's no number that limits you like, oh, I shouldn't have any more mentors, right? And just absorbing everything you can in every career opportunity, like you said, paid or unpaid internship. It doesn't matter what the job is, you are going to gain communication skills. You are going to gain customer service. You are going to gain more patience, right? You're going to gain discipline. You're going to gain public speaking. So there's no such thing as you having a job that isn't going to bring you more value of providing transferable skills or growing the gifts you already have that now you can give more value later.
Listen, I've been smiling over here this whole time. So, and I'm just smiling because you're giving away a whole bunch of free game. You're giving away jewels, and I think it's these types of conversations that people need to hear, right? My nephews were just here last week, right? So I
Oh,
got two
house was
twins who.
busy.
Oh, the house is always busy over here. The Hughes household is steadily busy, but I got a set of twins who are 16. So my nephews were staying with us, and my wife always
Wow.
have them, and we were talking about what job they want to do, right? And one said, he wants to get into real estate, and they're 16 now. So he says, and the other one says, Ty, I don't want to work for nobody, and I was like, there's nothing wrong with not working for nobody, as long as you have a plan, because you can't stay with your mother and your dad your entire life.
Right.
So so what is the plan to become self sufficient? And I think sometimes being able to have those conversations early on and teach the younger generation that and it's actually not even just limited to the younger generation, because sometimes it's
Right.
folks
What are
my
you
age and
willing to
older. There
sacrifice?
you go.
What are you willing to sacrifice to make that possible? Right? Because I always tell my women, like, you need an exit strategy if you're in a toxic work environment. But if you want to build the business that you're going to make enough money that this is what you want to do to get the career freedom of how you want to live your life, cool. But please understand, you're going to need a lot of consistency, blood, sweat, and tears, and accountability to be able to have that freedom, because the freedom doesn't just happen, right? It has to be built over time. I was lucky enough that my career desires were that I wanted to start a business. I needed more money. How I was going to do that? I sacrificed moving to a cheaper area so I could save $5,000 that year in just rent to be able to use $5,000 that I wanted to use towards my business, grow the emergency fund. I was serious about before I started the business that I didn't want no credit card debt whatsoever. So I made sure I took all of care of that. So I had a list of what I needed to do first if I wanted to really create a business that was going to bring me more income, to give me more job security, depending what was happening um, in society. Because COVID hit, and businesses were shutting down. Every job wasn't considered as an essential worker, right? I was lucky enough that I was able to work remotely throughout the entire COVID season. But still, I seeing everyone struggle in the job market or lose their jobs and not have a plan B of how they were going to be able to sustain themselves, the light bulb was like, who I want to impact, why, and what business I can start to now bring me opportunities to bring me another income on top of being a PM. And that's how the career coaching business was born. Now I get paid to speak, to consult and teach, career coaching women as well. So now I have a variety of ways I can make money through the business using the different gifts that I was already using as a PM and in the industry for 16 years anyway. And now I'm more focusing on building my personal brand and an audience, because I realized it's easier to sell products and services and found great clients that want to work with you that are ready if they know you exist. People can give you opportunities if they don't know you exist. So me and telling clients to build more courage to kind of put your foot forward out there. The first time is never going to be perfect, and that's totally okay. Remember, success is failure time and time again. There's no such thing as success without the failure. And if you're okay with failing because it's a part of the process, you'll be surprised how fast the success comes. Because I noticed there's people who would just avoid not doing anything and just be the outsider instead of getting in the ring and watching in the sidelines and then wonder why nothing happens. Staying stagnant is actually worse than failing, right? Because nothing is coming from the stagnation the way the lessons are happening from the failures.
Drops a clue bomb.
And I notice it gets easier when you fail at something. You realize, do it long enough, you realize it has nothing to do with you, right? It's just like, it's not that I can't do it, I just need to change the approach, and now we're going to figure out different strategies. And you shouldn't let that to take away from your value and your gifts of what you can offer the world. Don't let that eat your confidence, because no one is exempt. Nobody gets the success all the time without the failure. And if you know that's the part of the process, you won't take it as personal as time goes on. And for me, I realized I take it much, much less personal. That is like, well, back to square one, and like, what I want to do different this time.
I like it.
And that's all
I
it
Yep.
is.
I literally maybe about a week or so ago, maybe two. I posted on my Facebook status, and I was saying how if if someone told you that all of the mistakes that you made earlier in your life would one day become valuable, would you go out and make some more mistakes, right? And to your point, I think you're 100% correct, right? Be fearless enough to just start. So many times people stop with analysis paralysis and they be like, "Oh, this isn't perfect. There's no such thing as perfect." You take the opportunity, you build it, you craft it, you learn from those mistakes. But when you get to your desired goal, you look back and you realize that all of those bumps in the road are now valuable because now you can teach, now you can help
Absolutely. They were
somebody
part
else.
of the journey. Yes. Yes. Same thing with my framework. Like I have a coaching framework that I work with the women. It's called the 3 Ps. And the 3 Ps stand for being positive, proactive, and patient. And the first P is understanding you need to have the abundance mindset. You can't
Mm,
come to work with me. And when I tell you, because a lot of some women that come to me when I said, oh, yeah, we're going to work towards we're going to get you a position in 6 figure range. And they look at me like if I'm crazy, like that's not going to happen type of thing. Like, yes, let's work
mm,
together 30, 60 days. We can make it happen. And they're just looking at me. See, when I coach the men, they're like, yeah, let's do it. Sure. I knew I was underpaid. I worked the 6 figures. Sometimes the women are a little scared or think of me that I'm insane. That are you sure you're making it seem that easy? Is it that easy? And then like after working 3 weeks together and they're like in the final round for like 6 figure opportunities, they're like, she's not that crazy. There's actually some method to the madness. So it's the abundance mindset that it's really for you. You're worthy. You're deserving. The second P is being proactive, meaning us, we're doing the work.
mm,
Like I'm building the strategy, I'm giving you A to Z of what I want you to do and how you do it. And I'm also doing some of the work with you because remember, you're paying for a service. I'm making it easier for you as well. I usually job search for my clients after I figure out what is their dream wish list. Now I start looking for, those opportunities for them that all they have to do is just apply themselves. So I try to work smarter, not harder, but how I can be an asset to them. And then the last P is being patient, right? That it's going to compound like interest. That if you keep doing the work consistently, you're going to be able to see the harvest. And then when the opportunity arises, be excited. Because I had some women that they got the offer letter of everything they desired, and they'll come back to me and say things like, "You sure I can do it?" Absolutely, right? First you doubted this was possible. Your confidence got up. You now it's possible. We made it to the finish line. You have the offer letter. You are ready. And sometimes I get the resistance of like, are you sure I can do the job well that I can keep it? Absolutely. So sometimes I got to give them that confidence reassurance like, look how amazing you are. Look how far you come in a short period of time. Yes, I'm helping you, but you're the one that's doing the work. Remember, your credentials, your expertise, they saw you at the interview. They saw your name on the job application. Everything on your resume, you did, regardless of how it's worded. You did that work. That was all you.
mm,
So take the money and be ready to rise to the occasion. Because someone will say, I don't know if I want to make more money because I'm afraid that I'm just going to have to do more work and not have the bandwidth. Don't worry about that. When you make more money, you usually have a bigger team that now you can delegate things to,
mm,
right? Teach my women's we have to learn to let things go. Just because we can do it all doesn't mean we should. There's nothing wrong about asking for support from your tribe. And that also includes your older children because it takes a team to run a household, right? Start doing tasks that no longer serve you. We work on building healthy boundaries. It's okay to say no.
mm,
And you don't have to give an explanation either, right? Like if people love you and they know all that you poured into them, they will respect the no for right now if you want to take a step back without having the guilt.
mm. I like, and don't have imposter syndrome is what I took away from what you just said.
Right.
Realize if you're in a room, if you're in a particular space, God uniquely put you there for a reason.
Absolutely.
It's your responsibility to capitalize on the opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And
And I
I
tell
think,
them interviews are dinner parties.
mm,
Remember, they invited you, right? Out of all the people and the candidates, they're asking you to come in. So you're already qualified, right? You're already a person that they can fit in this role, right? It's you now, showcasing, the end of the finish line of how you're a great cultural fit, how your skills align, and how you can solve complex problems, how you can bring them even more value. And it's your job to articulate that effectively. But remember, there's nothing to be nervous about. You should be more excited than nervous because remember, they chose you to be here. They chose you. They just want to get to know you better, but who knows more about you than you, right?
There you go. And well, I got what's coming up next is something that you need to be nervous about because this is called rapid fire, right? I always like to do a little 60-second run to break up our conversation, and the reason why I do it is because I've realized that the older we get, the more professional we are. Sometimes we forget to showcase our personality and who we really are, and I think that's also one of those great selling points that can draw people into you when they realize that wow, Sierra's a great person that I would love to work with. Tyrell's a great person I like to be around. So sometimes people need to see your personality. So will you
Okay.
indulge with me in a quick round of rapid fire?
Okay. So what? I say the first word that comes to mind?
Nope. I'm going to ask you a series of questions for the
Okay.
next 60 seconds, maybe 90 seconds.
Okay.
And you let me know. I will have no response back on my end.
Okay.
All right, all right. So we're gonna start off with the first question. First question is going to be, Sierra, what is your favorite season of the year?
Summer.
All right. If you were to live anywhere in the world and you had a choice, obviously we talked about finances earlier, and everything's paid for, everything's in line. Where would you live and why?
Puerto Rico or Mexico?
All right.
The healthcare costs and the
Ooh.
weather and the food. I want to live closer to the equator where it's warmer or year round. I don't like the snow.
Okay. Listen, you are efficient all the way around. She says, listen, healthcare costs, it's cheaper. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Taxes are better. There's no state tax in Puerto Rico. Only no federal, only state, and it's only 4%. So if I made
Mm.
$100,000 in Puerto Rico, I only owe $4,000. That's appealing to me. It's expensive to live in New York and in the West Coast. I don't like taxes. I need lower taxes.
I love it. I love it. Let me see. If you were, I always ask this too because I'm a foodie at heart. If you were having a bad day and you needed a pick me up, what's your go to meal? What's your cheat snack that you like?
That's hard. I like lasagna. I like Van Luten ice cream these days. Oh, that's good. Rice and beans. I love Caribbean food. Oh, like peas and rice and greens. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What? Why? Anyway, man. I got it. I have it at the top of. Anyway, it's gonna come to me later. All right. If you were to choose a favorite sneaker, I'm a shoe head. What would your favorite sneaker of choice be for you? What sneaker you choosing?
I'm from the Bronx, so in Uptown, Uptown White Top.
Okay, you gotta get those new Fat
It could go
Joes.
with anything, and as long as it's fresh, it's perfect. So it's the best.
Okay, all right. And let me see if there was a. I always ask this thing, if there was something that you let me make sure I say it right. I always end up messing it up wrong. Okay, so like we all got our own pet peeves, right? So if there was something that a client would do or people do that is like your pet peeve, what would it be?
A messy car.
Ooh,
Like it's something about that I need an organized car to feel like free. Like I feel like I always like a neat car. I'm good at picking up after myself and stuff like that. And nobody's perfect, but I like to have a clean car.
you would not get a ride in my car right now. First things first, I'm done with rapid fire, so thank you for indulging me in rapid fire. But you would not get a ride in my car because the way my two youngest kids pick apart this thing, I just looked at it yesterday. We
You
came
got
back.
French fries in the back? Oh, French
Listen,
fries.
everything is in the car. We came from
Chips.
Reading, Pennsylvania, Pop Tarts, French fries, and my wife be like, Tara, why don't you get the car clean? I'd be like, listen, I've given up because it makes no sense. You put them guys back there. This is what it looks like every time. So
That's their job though, right? That's their job to be in the back eating and enjoying themselves. No, I don't have children as of yet, but hopefully one day willing I do. My car is not going to be clean anymore
mm,
either.
no, it will not. And I was hoping you was gonna say that's their job to get back there and clean it up because my wife makes them clean up her car, and I haven't gotten to the point of making them do that with mine, and I should, and I
See,
think that's
she's
what I'm
holding the
missing out on.
negotiation and accountability.
I told you.
And this can be considered work ethic skills that she's building right now for them to self sustain and advocate for themselves as well.
I told you. Listen, her negotiation skills out of this world. Mine's not so good. Let me see, man. I'm gonna ask you this question in 4 seasons of doing the back community. It's probably my favorite question to ask my guests. If you were to define success, how would you define success for you, Sierra?
It's all about perspective to me. So, what makes you happy when it comes to the point of passion, aligning your transferable skills and core values, and that target number where you feel like you're comfortable to support yourself and your family. For some people, it can just be the six-figure mark or less. And there's some people that's like, no, I want to be a multimillionaire. And it doesn't make success is like what you make of it and how you value the life you want to build for yourself. Because I don't think it's fair, like just because you're a millionaire doesn't mean that you're happy in the rest of your life. So to me, success doesn't just mean how much money you make or what you do. It's your overall 360 health. How are your relationships, with your family, your friends, your coworker? How do you feel when it comes to the appreciation and the value of the work you bring? Are you doing what resonates with you? Do you feel like you're being compensated fairly? Are you able to like reach those goals if you wanted to travel at least twice a year, right? Did you want to go to Africa? Did you want to go to Bali? So success really depends on the individual and not being worried about what society will judge your success. Because there's times that we desire what other people want, but if you knew the true entirety of their whole lives and not just the narrative story of what you believe is so, right? Because a lot of us, I'm not saying we don't take our lives for granted. There's nothing wrong with wanting more, but please understand that success is a whole line in all aspects, and you're always on self-discovery of what that is to continue to achieve it, maintain it, and it can change. What you wanted 5 years ago may not be what you want 10 years from now. And you know what? That's okay. And industries, careers would change, money would change. That does not mean that you're not successful anymore, right? It just meant life happened. So, making a cheat sheet of how you want to build your dream life, that would look differently for various people, but that doesn't mean that it's not success. What success is for you is really success for you.
All right. And if you had to look at your life and everything that you've accomplished thus far, this is a follow up to the success question. Thinking about everything that you've accomplished thus far in your life, Sierra, what about your life's path are you most proud of?
My life's past, like
Path,
path.
about your path. Yep. What about your life's path? What is it about all of the trials and tribulations that you might have overcome? What is it about a particular thing that did it for you? You didn't give up. What is it about your life's path at this point that you are most proud of?
I think having the confidence to start a business, regardless of what people thought was possible for me. There's people that say like, "Oh, you're a woman in tech. You don't have kids. Like, you don't have kids yet." Like, are surprised, like, that I don't have a family yet. Oh, you're not married, or just me being resilient in adversity of like, regardless of what anyone else thinks success is. Like, I know the life I want to build. I know what values mean something to me, and I think one of the toughest times in my life was when I was going to school full time online. I was working at Target from 5 to 10 p.m. I was working at Excelsior University, and I was waitressing tables on the weekend at Stage Bistro. So that year was rough. I was working three jobs and going to school and trying to keep a household clean all at the same time, fighting, trying to reach perfection and reach certain goals. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how I kept up with that schedule. I keep telling myself it wasn't me. It was prayer, it was God, it was faith in the process that if I worked hard enough, I was going to get out the situation I was in, which wasn't great at the time. And that all those sacrifices with working that hard at that time needed to happen. So then later when I started the business of what I needed to do to make it possible was crumb cake. Like if I could work 3 jobs and get straight A's that marking period, right, and still keep my sanity and smile, I was like, I can do anything, right? Like the hardships are bound to come, right? And understanding that that's a part of the process and that shouldn't take away my joy in the current moment, but still be present, but still be excited about the future. That's how I should continue to live my life. Just because something's uncomfortable now doesn't mean that I don't have a great life overall. And it doesn't mean that I still can't be positive at the same time.
I think what you just said um, was a mouthful because everything is not going to be easy. You're
Right.
not always going to hit your desired mark,
Right.
especially the first time. But
Right.
that resilience that you tapped on, or you tap into within yourself, is a huge part of where you will be at the end, right? And I always tell everybody, it's just like it's not how you started, it's not where you started. It's
How you
it's
finish.
how you finish. And a lot of that has to do with, like you said, realizing that nobody's coming to save me but me. So if I want
Right.
to change my life's trajectory, that has a lot to do with me changing my own situation, putting in the
Right.
work, asking for the help and the resources
Right. Exactly.
where I
That
can.
part. We're afraid to ask.
Yeah,
You'll be surprised how much easier our life would be if we asked. Yes.
yeah. And
Yes.
don't ask for money. This is what I tell people all the time, man. Ask for the relationship, right?
Right.
The
The
relationship
wisdom.
the relationship changes, and I know people say, oh, it's cliches, it's easy to say that, if you have it or when you have it, but I'm just saying it from a person who didn't have it at one point, to might be able to have a little bit of it now. But ask for the relationships matter, the relationships are the things
Absolutely.
that will sustain you in the times when you have money, when you don't have money, and to give you the
Right.
skill and the confidence to be able to go and acquire whatever it is that you're trying to acquire in
Right.
life.
And money doesn't fix everything. There's still
Facts.
millionaires who are very unhappy, right? And it's checking in with yourself of awareness of where is the dissatisfactory coming from because it's always not finances. At a certain point, you have to understand what else in your life that is causing you for you not to have the fulfillment and to understand that you always won't be fulfilled 100% of the time, all the time. We are human beings with emotions, with emotional intelligence.
Mm.
Remember, like it doesn't matter how much money you make or don't make. We all only have one health. We have one body, one temple, right? We all have our own family situations. So, like, listen, life will happen. And it's just like, how am I going to react to life, right? To my competitive advantage. And just know that's a part of the journey. No one is exempt. And when I keep in my mind, no one's exempt, it reminds me it's a part of what makes us human. And I should honor and treasure that.
All right. Instead of why me, why not me? Right?
Right. Why not me?
Why not me?
Right. Why not me? Absolutely, Tyrell. Absolutely.
Well,
And
my
don't get me
final.
wrong, it's hard to
Uh,
be positive all the time, but it's possible. The more you do it often, the more it would occur. You'd be surprised that now I have skin like a gator, right?
mm,
As a PM, I'm working with a lot of different personalities all the time, and people could be passionate. So it's just like, how do I solve complex problems with a smile on
mm,
to remind us that we all have a common end goal?
mm. And to not take everything personal, right, Sierra? So
Yes,
it
don't take it personal.
took me a long time in this 40-year-old life of mine to learn not to take everything so personal, right? Because a lot of it isn't personal. And with
Nope,
the moment
it
you get
isn't.
to the point of realizing that it's not personal, you can separate yourself from what's actually happened and you can focus in on what's actually important to you and be able to drop it here at
Absolutely.
work, go home, live your life. So everything isn't personal, professionally or personally, but being positive, I think, is extremely necessary part of it, and you got to be positive because if you got a grim outlook, 9 times out of 10 you might speak that into existence.
Absolutely. Well said. Well said.
All right, I got one more question for you before I let you go. This is my final question, and I like asking this question because I like to understand what motivates the people that motivate me. Like I said, I love seeing you out working. I love seeing your engagement with the community, and I love seeing that you're passionate about what you're doing. So my final question to you on the back community would be, what is it that you're listening to? What is it that you're reading um, that inspires you? That maybe we might be able to leave a nugget with those who are going to either be listening or watching this podcast, and they can understand what motivates Sierra as well.
What motivates me is like I want to leave a legacy for my future family, my current family, like break generational curses. Like I want to be the first millionaire in my family is one of the goals of mine. I want to be able to give my generation more opportunity that I didn't have. Um, a book that I didn't read this year, but was such a blessing last year that I'm going to read again. I actually have it next to me because I really wanted to share this. When it came to adjusting my mindset, how should I value success and like where certain things stem from, it gave me more awareness. My best friend ended up driving this author last year, a couple years ago, to like Good Morning America to present this book. It's called The Power of One More by Ed Myatt.
Mm.
And I got this as a gift from my financial advisor at a networking event last year, I think at Toro on Wolf Road. And when I mean this book was a blessing, it's the ultimate guide to happiness and success. Max out your life. Gems. Gems. And if you're not crazy about reading, I tell my clients like just get it audio. Just listen to it in the car, listen it to in the bed with your spouse or your partner. Listen to it with one of your children. Me, I like an old-fashioned book, so I listen to a lot of audiobooks and like one good old-fashioned to like get through at least once every other month. But The Power of One More by Ed Myatt, definitely a game changer.
Don't
When
worry,
it came to like really pushing me forward, that did it.
I'm adding that to my list, and I'm looking for something here, just to go to what you just said. So whether you like to physically read, like I love holding a book, but I also love when I'm in the car, that I can throw in an audio book. I'm literally reading three books as we speak. One on smarter government by Martin O'Malley.
Nice.
The 15 commitments of conscious leaders, right? Amazing book,
I gotta check that out.
right? And I just finished another finance book, Tip Finance, because I'm heavy into finances too, and I teach a finance class every Thursday. So,
I don't know them off the top of my head. I gotta email you the three top finance books I read last year that
mm,
like changed the game for me. I don't know if people know, but like if the people that are in Albany, I think it's darn it, they have their own library platform where they can listen to a ton of audiobooks for free.
mm,
And I was listening to all these finance books for free during the day as I'm working remotely, playing in the background. And I felt like it was bringing much more value that I was maxing out the time. Or like if I'm at the gym, I'm still listening to an audiobook instead of music as I'm working out to be able to get the content in because we only got 24 hours in a day. Everybody, nobody gets no more, nobody gets no less. The only difference is how are we using our time? All of our priorities are different. And I was telling my clients, like, one of the things we work on too is the difference between being busy and actually productive, is the whole game changer of me accomplishing more in the same amount of time. It's stellar.
and if you don't like reading physically or don't like listening, I'm going to give you one other cheat before I dismiss you guys today and say Headway is an app that will go ahead and break down a book for you in about 15 minutes,
Oh,
right? So I've never used it yet, but my best friend, who hates reading, uh, uh, he told me about it maybe a couple of days ago, and I checked it out, and it's really amazing to see. I'm still going to physically read the books because I feel cheated if I don't read every page of a book. But for those of
likewise.
you who want the clip notes,
Summary.
check out
Just
Headway.
give
Yep.
me the concrete, the concise version that I could just take and run with it, then I say okay.
Download Headway if that tickles your fancy. But
No, I'm gonna
without
check it out. I think my partner will love that. He's one of the ones that just give it to me what you want me to know and I'm ready to go. So I read separately, but there's a book that we will always read together.
Right.
at the same time, like to share the experience. And that book that we read together always takes longer to finish than the books we read separately.
Yep, and I know who's just secretly got blamed for that too.
Right. But it's a way that I can hold him. He told me, like, help me hold myself more accountable to read more. So if we're both reading the same book together, I'll read a chapter, he reads a chapter out loud. It kind of holds us accountable to like force us to read a certain amount every day,
I like
to reach our goals. I even have a whiteboard that has like all our goals that I can see it every single day, and then I can cross them off as the weeks and months go by, and then I put things in quarters: Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. So I'm trying to treat my life like if it was a finance
Mm.
report, for me to have eyes to hold me more accountable, because we're not perfect, but it works for me, and everyone works differently. As long as you find what works for you, to me, that's what's key.
There you go. The back community, there you have it, from Miss Siara Ramos herself. Why you need to get a career strategist, why you need someone to boost your confidence, why you need someone to help you how to negotiate. These are life changing assets and skills. These are career
Absolutely.
changing skills that you need to have. So do not cheat yourself, treat yourself. And I always tell everybody, people are always looking for the stuff that's free. In 20 years of working with people, I've learned this, that the people who decide to pay for a service, um, 9 times out of 10 are more likely to utilize the service because they have a vested interest. They've already paid for it.
Absolutely.
Stop looking for all of the stuff that's free. Realize if someone has learned how to professionally do something that you want, and they're willing to offer that to you, and it will shorten up your path. You can learn vicariously through them. Do that. So get you a career
Absolutely.
strategist. Get you a Siara Ramos in your life, and
Yes,
and,
yes,
and
yes.
let's go out and go change the world.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I had such a good time. I didn't know it was going to be
Hooray!
this fun.
I try to tell you, I'm a great host. Well, listen, man. Thank you for affording me your time today. Thank you for agreeing to be on the back community, and I can't wait to get your story out to the people.
All right. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Later.
Bye.
Keep climbing up the ladder. A Black Lives Matter. They matter. Matter. So all you young people, give it all. 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 Matter, matter. A Black Lives Matter. They matter, they matter. A Black Lives Matter.